What's up, everyone? Happy Football Friday. Gross Football Friday here. Anyways, rainy out. But yeah, we are on the cusp of free agency, the negotiating window starting on Monday. Actually, I think it's Sunday. But anyways, Sunday, Monday, same. Deals are getting done. And they will be getting done as free agency ramps up next week. A lot of stuff already getting done though. Extensions, guys signing, re-signing with their own team. Start off with breaking news. I don't have as many things on the top of my head as I did last show because I think like a lot of stuff has just been happening at the same time. I don't know if there's any top stories that you would like to talk about, Jimmy.
No, nothing right now. I mean, I'm reading the script for today's episode, so and I'm scrolling through Twitter. I haven't seen any breaking news other than hockey breaking news. Trade deadline day, very exciting,
Don't remind me,
dude.
Jake.
Rip Gensel, dude. You didn't even get a first rounder for him.
Technically, we did.
At best, you got like the 32nd pick in the first round. That's pretty rough. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah. Apparently, the prospects are good.
Let's hope.
And Michael Bunting. Anyways, I guess the one headliner that we'll talk about, a lot of people are talking about it, is Russell Wilson right now making his rounds. 2 visits so far. He was in Newark, visited with the Giants for a hot second, and then he's in Pittsburgh currently, visiting with the Steelers. Still don't like it as much. It will be nice though if they do sign him. Won't have to pay anything. You know, it'll be a vet minimum contract. He's already getting $39 million from the Broncos this year. But I still think, I know Russell Wilson's more talented, but I still think I would like Ryan Tannehill better, just because he already knows the offense. Like I said, when they hired Arthur Smith and the Tannehill rumors were there a little bit, I still think that one makes more sense than Russ. But
yeah, I don't see how Russ fits this offense. It definitely feels more like a pocket passer, Ryan Tannehill kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe they want to get creative with the offense and have a QB with maybe a bit more legs underneath him. And maybe Tannehill wants more money than the minimum. Maybe they're looking at Russ as like, hey, I'll take minimum. And Tannehill's like, I need some money guaranteed. Yeah. That could be playing into this as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the offense would work okay with Russ. It would be a similar offense to what he had when he was on his rookie deal in Seattle. Good running game, set up the play action. That's in theory what Arthur Smith's offense is going to look like with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren in the backfield. But all right, let's go to other news here. College football news. Just one interesting thing. Again, it's just compounding on the fact of all these coaching moves, kind of head scratching. Ole Miss has hired former Mississippi State head coach Zach Arnett as an analyst. So that's pretty far down from a head coach. And he switches sides on the Egg Bowl rivalry as well, which is an interesting note on that one. But yeah, it's just another very confusing move in the world of college coaching.
Yeah, I mean, you never like to see a guy kind of get downgraded in position. Maybe this is just kind of a hard reset career-wise for Arnett. Maybe he just would rather be an analyst. You know, there was interesting comments today from Chip Kelly. I don't remember if it was today or yesterday about like he finds being a head coach more like being a CEO instead of a head coach. So that's why he took an offensive coordinator position with Ohio State. He's like, oh, I can focus more on football when I was a head coach. I had to focus on other things. So maybe that's the interest for Zach Arnett, just being like, oh, I can move to a position that fits my personality and what I'm looking for more. So
yeah, I mean, by trade, he's DC.
mm-hmm.
That's what he was before Coach Leach passed away, and then he took the reins there, the Bulldogs. But UFL news: there's a trade that occurred. My DC Defenders getting some O-line help. Offensive tackle Jameer Johnson going to DC to Birmingham for linebacker Chauncey Rivers, former Packer Chauncey Rivers there. So I'm excited. I'm happy about that. Jameer Johnson, pretty solid. Played with the Houston Roughnecks last year in the XFL. The Defenders made a wide receiver switch out as well. They waived wide receiver Preston Williams, formerly most known with the Dolphins, I think. And they signed former Rhode Island wide receiver Isaiah Coulter. Pretty good move. Preston Williams has kind of been bouncing around the last couple of years. But Coulter, a undrafted, I believe, in the 22 draft. Pretty solid player out of Rhode Island, or 2020, fifth rounder actually of the Texans, but has been with the Texans, Bears, Bills twice, and the Cardinals, and now transitions to spring football. See if he can revive his career with the Defenders. The Battlehawks, bad news for St. Louis. They're probably number one receiver, former Sea Dragons wide receiver Ja'Cour Pearson. He has been placed on IR. Sounds like he is going to be able to return sometime this season, but it's a big loss for AJ McCarron and the St. Louis Battlehawks this season. And then finally for UFL news, Roughnecks. They signed a couple of NFL vets, defensive backs Corn Elder and Jimmy Moreland, as well as defensive lineman Toby Johnson, who was a beast on the Generals last year. But yeah, Elder and Moreland, lots of experience at the NFL level, both former draft picks as well. I remember Corn Elder played with the Panthers for a bit. Jimmy Moreland, most of his experience came with the Redskins, I believe. All right, NFL news. We have a trade.
We have a trade to announce.
The first real trade of the offseason. And it did involve the Bears, but not the one everyone thought the Bears were going to be in. So the Bears getting some O-line help. Remember, they released Cody Whitehair a couple weeks back. Now they get a center in this one, offensive lineman Ryan Bates from the Bills for a 5th-round pick in this year's draft, which, with the compensatory selections, I can tell you exactly what number pick that is. Get my draft book up here. That is number 143. So there you go.
Yeah, I remember Ryan Bates. Last year, I think the Bears had attempted to acquire him. I think he was a free agent, or was it like... So yeah, getting their guy. I think this is a guy Ryan Poles had a lot of interest in to bring into Chicago, and when he saw a chance to get him for was relatively not much of a price, especially for the Bills and their cap situation. We'll probably get into that more later in the show. Getting him at a relatively reasonable price, they finally got their guy.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. And I thought the compensation was pretty good for Buffalo. Not really much higher you can get for a guy that's not in the top echelon of centers, but maybe in that second tier. All right, general news here. The Eagles defensive end Brandon Graham, he does plan to return for the 2024 season. They don't have a deal yet in Philly, but it's expected that one will get done eventually, and he'll return on a 1-year deal to the Eagles. So that is kind of a good, really godsend for Philadelphia. That would have been really tough to lose Kelsey, Cox, and Graham all in the same offseason. Those were the leaders of the locker room. And I know one of the big offseason stories has been, well, the Eagles want Jalen Hurts to become more of a vocal leader. I think he has, and necessity will make him more of a vocal leader as well, because they really don't have a lot of veteran presence. I think Graham will continue, like I said, to be one of the guys. Hurts, and then I could see Darius Slay being a guy that steps in as well. And if you want to put a fourth in there, I think it has to be AJ Brown. I think he would command a lot of attention in the locker room if he would put on the leadership hat.
It does make a lot of sense.
Lane Johnson, I forgot. Lane Johnson also still good presence there. Couple of Steelers talked about they're visiting with Russell Wilson right now. They are not, however, interested in Bears quarterback Justin Fields. They kind of doubled down on that and almost came out and said that, yeah, no, we're not trading for Justin Fields, which I was like, thank God. They do not want Justin Fields in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough right now for the Steelers in the QB position, but I think at this point, you would probably just rather have Wilson or Fields.
Especially the money, because you're going to have to pay Fields eventually.
Yeah.
Like next year, you have to pay him, or you are letting him go for nothing, and you're losing a draft pick for it.
Nothing.
The Patriots, they apparently are open to a trade, trading quarterback Mac Jones.
Ooh.
This one we haven't really heard about this offseason yet, but I think it makes it more interesting now. The Bears Patriots Justin Fields kind of trade, because the Patriots then could limit the draft compensation if they include Mac Jones back with that.
Could you imagine Mac Jones and Justin Fields, two QBs drafted in the same first round, traded essentially for each other?
Yeah.
That'd be such a strange look.
And then it wouldn't preclude the Bears from taking Caleb Williams or whoever at one either, because Mac could just serve as a veteran backup.
Yeah, that I think that would be kind of the move for the Bears if they made that decision. Because then Patriots, what you're looking at is still QB of high upside, very different play style from Mac Jones. Perhaps he can be the starter. And if we decide to get a QB, we could still do that at number 3. And then if you're the Bears, you're like, okay, we're getting something for Fields. We're getting a backup quarterback. We'll take Caleb Williams, and that is that.
Yeah, I think the Patriots, if that would happen, I think that any team that trades for Justin Fields this offseason, whoever it is expecting him to be their starter and their starter long term. So I didn't even consider a quarterback for the Patriots at 3 in that scenario. I thought the Patriots would be very interesting if that went down, because then they could trade out, acquire draft picks for whoever wants QB3 in the draft, or take MHJ and give Justin Fields number 1 wide receiver.
That could be exciting. Because then if you're Arizona, maybe you're trying to trade back into the top 3 to avoid that.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't know. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And the compensatory selections were announced today. The 49ers, the winners there, they got 5, which was the most of all the teams. Don't really have too much to say about that. I was happy that at least one of my 3 teams got a couple picks. The Eagles got like 3 or 4. Yeah, the Eagles got 4.
Not bad.
Your Vikings did not get any.
Yeah. I don't think we really lost anyone in free agency that would cause this to happen or had any like certain qualifications be hit.
Yeah. 4 third rounders given out. The Jags, Eagles, Rams, and 49ers all getting third round picks. I was trying to like rack my brain and think about like who the Jags lost in free agency last year to get a third round pick, and I can't for some reason figure it out. The Eagles, though, I think I'm not exactly sure, but I think TJ Edwards might have been their third round pick because he got a big money deal with the Bears.
That's right.
Not exactly sure, though. And then the 49ers and Rams, those are from the minority hiring rule. The Rams getting their first of back-to-back years of third-round compensatory selections for the Falcons hiring Raheem Morris this year. The 49ers third-round pick is from the Titans hiring Rand Carthon as GM last year. Franchise tag. So we had the franchise tag deadline go down this week, and a bunch of guys got the tag. A bunch of guys didn't, though. So the Panthers, they placed the non-exclusive tag on edge rusher Brian Burns, locked in for $24 million, fully guaranteed this year. And say non-exclusive, that means that teams can trade for him and offer trades. But yeah. The Giants, they did not place the tag on running back Saquon Barkley. So that's interesting. He now becomes, I think, the number 1 running back, top 5 free agent overall in the class as well. Giants seem like they want him back. We will have to wait, though, and see, because I think he's going to have some interest, despite the injury history.
Yeah, especially after what was, for the most part, a pretty healthy season. I mean, he didn't get 1,000 yards, which is pretty not a great look, pretty rough look, and averaged less than 4 yards a carry. But you kind of have to look at the Giants' offense this season and kind of just take it with a grain of salt and back. This offense was horrendous in all facets of the game. So maybe you just gotta give him just maybe a benefit of the doubt. This team was going to run a lot when he was on the field. This team doesn't have any contributors other than Saquon, so teams are just going to game plan against Saquon, and that's essentially how it came to be.
I still say,
yeah,
come home, Saquon. Come home from Philadelphia.
There's a running back. You're going to look so good in purple and gold.
There's a running back opening right now.
There's a running back opening up north. Come on.
Yeah, but it's cold in Minnesota.
Yeah, but we have a dome. He'll stay warm.
The Bucks, they placed the tag on safety Antoine Winfield Jr. The Bucks doing very well this offseason. Getting the deal done with Mike Evans, franchising Winfield, and now, while they continue to work on a long-term deal with him, all their eyes are on Baker, where they can focus most of their attention to. Ravens, they placed tag on defense tackle Justin Madubuike, $22.5 million. Whoo, that's a big one for a guy that has one career season of like big sack numbers at the defensive tackle position. It's always interesting, teams doing that, signing guys after one big year, or franchising in this case. Franchising, I get more than signing a long-term deal, but we'll see if he gets a long-term or not. Again, 22.5 is a lot for a guy with one big season. The Jags, they placed a tag on edge rusher Josh Allen, $24 million, just like Brian Burns. He's also a similar case to Justin Madubuike, 17.5 sacks last year, career high. However, I don't know. I feel like Josh Allen deserves it. Probably because he's an edge and Madubuike is a D tackle, but I don't know. The Patriots, they made an interesting one. This one was not expected. They placed the transition tag on safety Kyle Duggar. That's $13.8 million for him this year. No draft compensation if a team puts an offer sheet in, but Patriots will have right of first refusal and the ability to match any offers that come Duggar's way. But it's going to be tough agent-wise. I don't know if there would be any offer sheets anyways, because if you're getting 13.8 at the transition tag, why would you start with anything less than that?
Yeah.
Which I just don't see Kyle Duggar worth that much. And the last one, the Colts, they placed the tag on wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr., keeping him in Indy. Now they can hopefully get a long-term deal and keep the receiving core together for Anthony Richardson now. Releases. Teams are shedding left and right.
The salary cap doesn't exist crowd got real silent this last week.
Cap space and just contracts that haven't worked out for teams. First off, start with the Jets. They are going to release tight end CJ Uzomah, $5 million on the savings there. And yeah, that one just never worked out. He was injured a bunch, and also the tight end position was pretty underutilized in the Jets offense. Plus, they have Jeremy Ruckert, former third rounder a couple years ago, that they have on a rookie deal still. Jags, they released corner Darius Williams and defensive tackle Foley Fatukasi. Fatukasi, he visited the Texans and the Bills recently. I was surprised about Foley. Not as surprised about Darius Williams. I think I had heard about that he was going to get cut because of the contract. But Panthers, they're going to release tight end Hayden Hurst. Similar to CJ Uzomah, just never really worked out in Carolina. I was pretty excited when he got signed. And then, just didn't work. He's another injury one, though.
Yeah, that was on an offense that just didn't do anything. Hayden Hurst was just another example of what an offense with no scheme looks like. They didn't know what to do with him, and when he got injured, they didn't know how to replace him.
Yeah,
it was pretty rough.
Ian Thomas sucks.
Yeah.
Yet they signed him to an extension last year. The Seahawks making big moves. They released safeties Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. They're two starting safeties. $27.5 million saving on the cap. Jamal Adams trade. People want to talk about the Russell Wilson trade right now being bad. The Jamal Adams trade, I think it was worse than the Russell Wilson trade. I mean,
It's up there.
That was almost a complete sunk cost between the amount of games that he missed and the fact that the Jets made good decisions in who they drafted with those picks.
Yeah. Like, let's see, who did they end up drafting? I'm
I
looking at
believe
the article here.
it was Garrett Wilson.
I don't remember if it was Garrett. So 2021 first. Oh yeah, 2022 first round pick was Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
So, and they used that third round selection that they got in this draft to trade up and draft Alicia Vera Tucker in 14
Right.
in 2021.
So yeah, two very good players that they got.
So let me just make sure I got this all correct here. Okay, so they had Alicia Vera Tucker. Did they have 3 first round picks in 2021?
No,
Because it said they traded for 2 first and a second.
no, they had two.
Oh, that's right. They used that first round pick and the third round pick to move up.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. But hey, that first round pick that they traded away from was Christian Darrisaw. So everyone won in that trade. So I mean, oh my goodness, man. Vikings won somehow, which is crazy to think about. Jets won, and then Seahawks just got essentially an outside linebacker who could not play safety.
Yeah. I mean, it was tough. I mean, they did end up getting because they got a pick back from the Jets that they did end up drafting Kobe Bryant with, which is a solid player for Seattle.
Yeah, it's a saving grace, I guess.
But yeah, with the contract extension that they gave him, plus the amount that they gave up,
yeah,
pretty bad trade for John Schneider there.
And not a good piece on his record. And it once he re-signed that contract, it was definitely one of those just sunken cost fallacy things. Where it's like this team is just doubling down because they don't want to admit this was not a great trade for them.
The Quandre Diggs one, I didn't really understand as much. He's been really solid player for Seattle for a number of years, but money talks.
Money talks, man. And I don't know, maybe it's just he's pushing 30. Maybe that was one thing that gave them a little bit of. I mean, 30. He is 31, so I mean,
yeah.
Maybe that was just the one thing that kind of pushed him away. It's like, okay, he's 31, playing a position that requires a lot of speed, and speed kind of goes away as age goes up. So maybe they just saw the writing on the wall and didn't want to invest in a player that might be going down in efficiency.
A couple of linebackers released: Dolphins linebacker Jerome Baker and Chargers linebacker Eric Kendricks. The Dolphins were another team, just like Buffalo, has been releasing a lot of people. Jerome Baker, I think, should have some interest. He's pretty solid, 2-down player. Doesn't offer a ton in coverage, but can do that if needed. Kendricks has been on the decline for a couple years now. Minnesota won him back.
No, I think he's probably going to retire. I think he's kind of at that point in his career. I mean, good luck to him wherever he goes, but I don't think the fit makes sense in Minnesota. I think it would just be best if they just let him pass and just let him sign elsewhere if he wants to continue playing.
Yeah. I mean, 32. So
32, and he took a massive dip in just productivity this year. I mean,
yeah,
he's at best probably a depth linebacker for most teams.
Let's talk about the Bills now. Their massive salary dumps. They released safety Jordan Poyer, defensive back Siren Neal, center Mitch Morse, wide receiver return specialist Deontay Hardy, along with Naheem Hines from last week. Those moves saved them $25.96 million, and they also which was, I thought, just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They released corner Tre'Davious White, post June 1 designation, so that means 10.2 million saved on the cap. Only 6.2 dead money this year, I believe. I think there's more money. I think the dead money that I saw was just this year, not the total. So I don't know what the 2025 dead money is with the post June 1 designation there.
Yeah, that's a real rough one, especially Trey Davis. I mean, and wasn't he drafted with the pick that they got in the trade that became Patrick Mahomes?
I don't know.
Because it was 27th in the 2017 draft. No, it was earlier. Was it 2017 NFL draft? It was. Oh, that has to hurt for the Bills, man. Because they traded back with the Chiefs. Chiefs ended up getting Patrick Mahomes. In that trade, they get Trey White. They lose to the Chiefs in the playoffs, and just to twist the knife, they lose the guy they traded back for into free agency in a cap crunch. That is rough. That is really rough.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
You just kind of have to live with it. But yeah, there's nothing you can really do.
Yeah. So the Bills, they were a team that started off 40 million over the cap. And there's still work to do. Spot Track has them 10.4 and change over still. They are one of 7 teams that are over the cap currently. Chargers in a big, they're the worst off, 18.6. Dolphins, 16.6. Then it's the Bills, the Saints, right around 9 million. Ravens at 7.3. Broncos at 5.5. And then the 49ers at 3.4 over. Then it's a big gap. There's no one really close to the cap line because the Cowboys are the first one under the cap, and they have 8.9 million in space. So, yeah. And then you have the other side where it's Washington with 96 million, Titans with 80, and the Patriots with 75. Anyways, the Eagles, they released corner Avonte Maddox. There's definite interest in bringing him back just at a lower number. I think his number was like 10.6 or something like that this season, 9.6. They want a lower number there on the base salary. Another surprising one, the Broncos. They released safety Justin Simmons, a Pro Bowler in 2022. 14.5 million saved on the cap there. Philadelphia Eagles, please.
Just check in, please.
Any safeties that are released, I'm like, Eagles?
Eagles, come on, Eagles. If you're in the safety market right now, you are just salivating at who's being released. Like, it's unbelievable who's available right now.
Well, and it's the demand, right? Market demand drives the price down. Drive the price down. Yeah, but we had this issue. Was this last year that we had this issue? Maybe it was 2 years ago. I think it was last year, though. The safety market just didn't move last year.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. See what happens this year. It's the same thing happening with the running backs right now. The Steelers releasing a couple players. Safety Keanu Neal with a failed physical designation. That is a safety I am not interested in. And corner Patrick Peterson and wide receiver Allen Robinson. 10 million saved on the Robinson release, but knew all those guys pretty much weren't going to be back. Peterson, I was kind of surprised about. I thought they were going to keep him, move him to safety, That was what I had heard anyways was going to happen, but they decided that, nope, we're going to outright release him, which is fine. They need to get younger anyways, but maybe he just didn't want to play safety. I don't know.
Maybe.
And the Raiders, they released quarterback Brian Hoyer today. Patriot ×4 coming in.
I mean, you need a veteran backup for Jones or Field. Makes sense.
Restructures here, the Bills, more cost-saving measures that they were doing this week. They restructured corner Rasul Douglas's deal. That saved $2.5 million on the cap. They also restructured edge rusher Von Miller's deal, lowering his base salary $17.145 million to $1.5 million. That includes $7 million signing bonus, so $8.5 million base salary for this season. And they put incentives in the deal to get back up to 17.145 and even higher ones to get up to $20 million max value of the contract. 8.645 million saved for Buffalo on that one. So a good chunk of change there. A couple other restructures to keep players on their current teams. The Jags restructured guard Brandon Sheriff, and the Broncos restructuring wide receivers Tim Patrick. Patrick coming off an injury. Sheriff wasn't sure if he was going to stay in Jacksonville. Got the restructure done, able to stay. All right, let's talk about money.
Let's talk.
Because it's been it's starting to be thrown. The re-signings and extensions here. The Bears, big money deal. They originally franchise tagged corner Jalen Johnson, got a long-term deal done. 4 years, $76 million, $54 million guaranteed for Jalen Johnson. Very much deserved. I thought the couple games I did see and notice him, the Vikings game at the end of the season was one that he just stood out a lot with his ball skills and just blanket coverage as well.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams, they re-signed guard Kevin Dotson, 3 years, $48 million, $32 million guaranteed. I was really pissed that Kevin Dotson's doing well in LA. The Steelers traded him last year because he couldn't work out in Pittsburgh, and then the Rams get him, and he just plays super well. So I'm like, bro, why couldn't you do that in Pittsburgh?
People escape Pittsburgh and they figure it out.
That's very untrue.
This one time.
Hashtag Le'Veon, hashtag AB.
Hey, AB won a Super Bowl.
Okay.
All right.
The Texans, big money deal here. They signed tight end Dalton Schultz, 3 year, $36 million deal, 23.5. That's the wrong one.
It still works.
$23.5 million. Fully guaranteed there for Schultz. Excellent deal. Had a career year in Houston and one of CJ Stroud's most trusted weapons there.
Yeah, this is a very good signing. I mean, you always want to give a young QB a good safety blanket and a good tight end, and Dalton Schultz proved that this last year. So keeping him under wraps for basically all of CJ Stroud's rookie deal will do wonders for the guy.
The Jags, talked about them restructuring Brandon Scherf. They signed guard Ezra Cleveland to a 3 year, $28.5 million deal, $14.5 million guaranteed. Traded from the Vikings during the season last year. Jags really liked him, wanted to get a deal done, and they got one, kept him in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I would have been pissed if the Vikings signed this guy to that deal. I mean, you look at his metrics, and it's really rough for Ezra Cleveland. I mean, he was one of the lowest rated offensive linemen for the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team already having offensive line problems. So glad it's not the Vikings paying him.
They like him, man.
I guess. I mean, good for him. But I don't think this is a great deal for the Jags, especially just the term, like 3 years for this guy. I don't know. I haven't seen much from him in his career to really justify that deal.
It's really only 2.
That makes sense.
He's probably getting, I would say, based off 14.5 guaranteed. He's probably getting 10 guaranteed in the first year, 4.5 in the second year, third year none.
Yeah, that does make sense.
The Patriots, another tight end re-signing here, signing tight end Hunter Henry, 3 years, $27 million, $30 million max value. This is an interesting one. There was a lot of talk going back to LA for Hunter Henry and free agency. Patriots wanted to keep him. Again, we'll have to see what they do at the quarterback position, but at least seemingly they have a guy like you were talking about, Dalton Schultz, that a young quarterback can trust, whoever that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you always need a solid security blanket at the tight end position. Henry has been that for not good Patriots teams for a little bit, so keep him around, and make sure you just have that guy that if Devontae Parker continues to not be able to create separation, because he's the absolute worst at doing that in the NFL, at least you have Hunter Henry.
Make Hunter Henry great again.
The return.
Fantasy.
Someone please trade for him. I swear he has value.
I don't have him, so it's fine. The Chiefs, they signed linebacker Drew Tranquil to a 3-year, $19 million deal. $13 million fully guaranteed. I was kind of mad about this one. The Eagles had been sniffing around Drew Tranquil and possibility of signing him in free agency. But the Chiefs keep him and keep one of their defenders on the pretty solid defense.
Yeah.
The Texans, once again, up spending money, signed kicker Kaimi Fairbairn, 3 years, $15.9 million extension, 4th highest paid kicker in the league. Much deserved as well. One of the biggest legs in the league, and pretty accurate as well.
Very solid signing. The
Bills, they weren't just shedding money. They were spending some too. They signed safety Taylor Rapp to a 3-year, $14.5 million extension. Came over from LA, the Rams, last year, and has played pretty well for Buffalo when they had some safety injuries, and gets a deal to stay.
Yeah.
The Saints, one of those other teams that I said was over the cap currently, they also, just like the Bills, are spending. They signed safety Tyrann Mathieu to a 2-year, $13 million extension, keeping him in New Orleans. I would have to think for the end of his career. I don't know how many years he has left. He's getting up there. So he's a guy that just, I feel like, has went into the void in New Orleans because I really haven't noticed him.
Yeah, I mean, he's 31 years old, about to be 32. So he's always been kind of just a defensive leader in the New Orleans defensive system. Again, not flashy. I mean, he hasn't made a Pro Bowl since his time in Kansas City. Once he got there, it'd be rude to say fell off, but just kind of just became lost in the weeds, I would say. And New Orleans just hasn't really been anything more than mediocre since he got there. So, of course, he's just been kind of quiet.
Yeah. Definitely not the same Honey Badger.
No, definitely not.
The 49ers, they signed offensive tackle Colton McKivitz to a 1-year, $7 million extension. Pretty solid deal for both sides. McKivitz is a guy that they liked at the right tackle position, especially later in the year this past season. So he stays around for 24. And then a couple of deals that I don't have numbers for. The Dolphins, they signed punter Jake Bailey to a 2-year extension. So keeping him in South Beach. The Lions, they re-signed corner Emmanuel Mosley to a 1-year deal. That was an interesting one. He's had a rough go the last 2 years, coming off an ACL from 2022. First game back and first game in a Lions uniform. Tears his ACL again.
Ugh,
Tears his other ACL.
poor guy.
So Dan Campbell making the move there to keep him around. Hopefully, third time's a charm, right? He can come back the third time and play more than one game or quarter or whatever it was. The Cardinals, they re-signed defensive end L.J. Collier to a 1-year deal, former first-round pick with the Seahawks, signed with Arizona in free agency last year. They liked what they saw. He also was a guy that got injured early on in the season. And so Jonathan Gannon keeping defensive line around, which they need. They need a lot of help on the pass rush side in Arizona. So
Definitely.
the Bills, they signed guard David Edwards to an extension. That they did that because they are moving center. They are moving Connor McGovern to center. So there are now 2 Connor McGoverns that play center in the AFC East, which is something. Do you know which team the other one is on?
Nope.
The New York Jets. But yeah, David Andrews has been a pretty solid presence in the interior with Buffalo the last couple of years. And then your Vikings making a deal. They re-signed the best number 3 tight end in the NFL.
Yes.
Per Kevin O'Connell.
Johnny Munt. Woo!
Johnny Munt.
I like him. I like the re-signing. Don't have anything to complain about there. Tight ends are important, not just in the pass game like TJ Hawkinson has shown, but in the run game and pass blocking game. So I like Munt. I think this is a guy you want to keep around for stability at a position like tight end, especially with TJ Hawkinson coming off ACL surgery. Dog's going crazy. But yeah.
They used all the Alexander Madison savings on Johnny Munt.
How much savings could you possibly get from Alexander Madison?
I don't know. And then we do have some deals, some free agency deals, guys that got released already that are signing with teams. So the biggest money one here, the Dolphins, they signed Falcons tight end Jonnu Smith to a 2-year, $10 million deal. I think that's pretty solid on the Dolphins side in terms of money-wise. And it gives him a guy that played excellent in Atlanta last year. Had a pretty good season, and I guess the Dolphins finally want to incorporate the tight end into their offense this coming season.
Yeah, especially after what was his name? Losing Mike Gesicki
last year.
Yeah, they just didn't really have a.
They never re-signed a quality tight end.
They never did. Like once Gesicki was out, they just really relied heavily on the wide receiver game when it came to the pass game. And again, Tua, I still would mark down as a just like young QB, and young QBs just need their tight ends. You need a guy that you can just throw to when you have to. And hopefully this Jonnu Smith signing is exactly what you're looking for.
Durham Smythe led the Dolphins tight ends in 2023. 35 receptions, 366 yards. Durham Smythe, baby.
Durham Smythe.
The Commanders making a move. They signed Cardinals tight end Zach Ertz to a 1-year, $5 million deal. that sounded weird.
Yeah.
Uh,
Door closing and cash flowing.
but anyways, I don't like this. I just can't fathom having to play Zach Ertz twice a year. Like, it was okay. It's perfectly fine when he went to Arizona. He was on the opposite side of the country. The Eagles did have to play him once. But no, it's weird. No. Don't. No. Why?
Yeah, I get the feeling this is like when Jared Allen signed with the Bears and we had to play him. I was like, this is awkward.
Yeah. I'm sure he will get a good ovation though in Philadelphia. He is one of the most loved players of our generation's Philadelphia fans. Was on the Super Bowl team, integral part of that team, and I love his wife too. Julie Ertz is fantastic. I hate that she's retired now because she was a beast on the pitch. But anyways. The Patriots, they signed Steelers offensive tackle Chukwuma Okorafor to a 1-year, $4 million deal. $8.25 million max value on that one. Makes a lot of sense. Patriots were a team that desperately needed tackles. Mike Onwenu and Trent Brown, both free agents this offseason. So they get Chucks in here. He's going to play right tackle. Now they can focus their efforts on getting a left tackle this offseason. Mm-hmm. Or they can re-sign Trent Brown and play Chucks at left tackle, but I think he's better suited at right, though. And the final one here, the Bills. They signed Steelers quarterback Mitch Trubisky.
The legend returns.
Yeah, returns after a couple years in Pittsburgh. Whenever I saw that, like he was going back to the Bills, I was like, I never remembered that he played in Buffalo in 2021. I was like, bro, when did this occur?
Dude, he was so efficient. I think he's the most efficient quarterback in Bills history. If you don't have any standards for how many passes he threw.
Yeah. His time in Buffalo. He 6 of 8 throwing dimes, 75 for 43 yards and an interception, of course.
Ooh, we got another signing. I just saw one. Bears signed veteran safety Tavarius Moore. Tavarius Moore? Yeah.
It didn't pop up on my feed, so
I just got it from 670 The Score, the official radio podcast from Twitter of the Chicago area sports radio show. So.
But I do have more details on Tim Patrick's deal. His restructure with the Broncos. Base salary drops from $9.5 million to the league minimum, with $1.205 million in upside and another $170,000 in per game roster bonuses, so $10,000 per game. $8 million saved on the cap for Denver. Pac-12 SEC season recaps. Yeah.
Might have been off.
Pac-12 was interesting. What?
Might have been a little off.
Hey, man, the Pac-12 was tough. They showed out on their last year.
Mm-hmm.
Even though technically it wasn't their last year because it is still a conference.
Ain't much of one.
With only 2 teams.
The Pac-2. They should just call it the Pac-Deuce.
So, yeah, I had USC going 12-0.
Honestly, so did I. So I had them in my playoffs, college football playoffs.
believed in Caleb Williams. He did not disappoint. Sometimes their defense still was trash.
Everyone disappointed all the time.
I mean, it's crazy when you look at some of these scores that they lost.
Mm.
They started out 6-0. They got blown up by Notre Dame by 28 in South Bend. And then they lose a heartbreaker, the 2-point loss to Utah. They beat Cal by 1 point, 50-49. They lose by 10 to Washington, 52-42. Lose by 9 to Oregon, 27-36. They get blown out by UCLA in the Battle of LA, 38-20 in the regular season finale. But yeah, those ones down the stretch, dude, it's tough on your offense. Like, bro, you scored 32 and lost, 42 and lost, 27. Those are the 3 games that I'm like, bro, how do you lose these games? I understand 27 in college isn't a lot, but 32 and 42, you should be able to win with those numbers.
Not this time.
But yeah, they went 7-5. That was probably the worst prediction I had all year. UCLA was probably the second one. 11-1, baby. The Bruins.
Dude, you're brutal, man. Just real brutal.
Chip Kelly. I thought that they were going to be really good. I liked what they had in terms of personnel coming into the year. The defense was stellar all year. They were a top 10, top 5 defense most of the season. Really didn't give up a ton of points. The most points they gave up was in the regular season finale, I believe. Or no, never mind. They gave up 36 to Oregon State and then 33 to Cal. But yeah, like I said, they really, I don't even know how they lost some of these games because of how well they played on defense. Like, they lost to Utah 14-7. Like, that's rough.
It's such a rough one.
I mentioned the Oregon State game, they lost by 12. But Arizona, they gave up 27. They lost that one by 17. They lost to Arizona State 17-7. And then got the crap kicked out of them by Cal at the end of the year. But yeah, they also went 7-5. So matching LA team scores there. Washington, I was close. Other than didn't have them winning the Pac-12, but they went 12-0. I had them going 10-2. Oh well, this is decent. They ended up 14-1, runners up. But yeah, Utah 9-3 for me. They ended up going 8-4, so just a tick under what I had Kyle Whittingham's crew going. So that one I felt pretty good about. I had them finishing 4th. They ended up finishing 5th in the conference. And I know what you're going to say. Because I see it too. And we're going to go to that right now.
I didn't say anything.
We have breaking news.
Breaking news.
Justin Madubuike has signed a long-term extension with the Ravens. 4 years, $98 million, $75.5 million total in guarantees. That's a lot. That is a lot, sir. Again, for a guy, he's played all 4 years in Baltimore. One big season in sacks. Now he has improved every year. Only played 10 games his rookie year, 1 sack. 15 games his second year, 2 sacks. Played all 17, started 16 last year, or third year, 5.5 sacks. Of course, started all 17 this year, 13 sacks. But it's I don't know.
Yeah, he definitely cashed in on a very good season, and I think obviously the Ravens are just hoping he can continue that. I don't see it too much of an overpay. I think if it works out, if it works out, this is probably considered a legitimate underpay. But yeah, he has to, if not get back to this last season's production, at least match it in most ways for the next 4 years. And I mean, how old is he? I just want to make sure, just to see his age.
He's young.
He is 26, so he should
Yeah.
this entire contract should run the entirety of his prime from 27 to 30 years old. So, hey, he's cashing in after a great year, and Ravens are investing into what should be the prime of his career. I mean, I think it's a pretty good deal for the Ravens. This kind of deal you want for for just a game-breaking defensive player. But yeah, there are risks. There are huge risks involved. You're expecting him to really continue what was a 7.5 sack jump. You know, he never had more than 6 sacks in a single season before this year, but that huge jump is very, very, very exciting for the Ravens, and you're just hoping he just continues it and doesn't revert back to what was his, what were his numbers the previous years.
Yeah, another thing I have an issue with, um, half a sack in 5 career playoff games as well.
Yeah.
Which is tough. Obviously, you're not going to get a sack every game, but I would have liked to see, 2 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
2 in 5 games would have been a decent number. But
Yeah, you need
almost 25 mil a year.
mm,
Maybe you do want 1 in every game.
yeah.
Because he now becomes the second highest paid defensive tackle in the league, surpassing Quinnen Williams by a little bit. Overall value, he's the highest paid. Quinnen was at 96 over 4. Aaron Donald 3 for 95. But yeah, Aaron Donald's still reigning way supreme, 31.
And you got to wonder, I mean, this may take it off topic, what this means for a deal for a player like Chris Jones of the Chiefs. Is he going to try to use this deal that this player, Justin just signed as leverage for his new deal? Like, hey, like, look how important I've been to this team. This guy has half a sack in 5 career playoff games. Look at what I've done in the playoffs. I've been an integral part of back-to-back Super Bowls. Sure, I may be older, but I've shown my worth. So this could definitely play into how Chris Jones negotiates with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Also, want to say the Broncos did another restructure with offensive tackle Mike McGlinchey. $11 million more saved for Denver. And let's get back to the Pac-12 here.
Back to twisting the knife on your predictions.
Oregon, I had 9-3. They ended up going, let's see, 11-1. So, yeah. I don't know. Oregon, I was just not sold, I think, on Bo Nix, maybe. this past off season and love Bo Nix now, but I think they had also lost them in the transfer portal and to the NFL draft. So, couple game jump down to Washington State, 7-5 for me, 5-7 in reality. Yeah, I thought Cam Ward was going to do really well in a return to Washington State, but just for some reason couldn't get on track. And of course, Washington State is one of the teams that doesn't have their 2023 games up on ESPN right now.
Oh, that's right.
The new schedule for this coming season.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all right. We'll get it back next year, Cougs. One of the last two standing.
You got this, Washington.
Colorado. Man, I thought I was going to be on Prime. 6-6 for me for the Buffs. They finished last in the Pac-12, 4-8.
Yeah, not playing well in conference really just bit them in the butt. You know?
Yeah.
Especially if you look at the rest of the conference. I mean, only, the conference is basically split half and half in conference play in terms of win percentage. There were 3 other teams in the conference that had less than 3 wins in conference. Like, you got to take advantage of that, and Colorado just didn't.
Yeah, I think year 2 of Coach Prime is going to be better. Shador is going to be another year developed. They got a lot of offensive line transfers and recruits, which is what they needed on offense anyways. And the defense, hopefully the defense is better as well as they move to the Big 12. Oregon State. I did not see Jonathan Smith's crew being that good. I had them 500. They ended up going 8-4. The Beavers really showed out and had a chance at the Pac-12 title game with 2 weeks to go. Just could not get enough, or a couple weeks ago, I should say, and could not get enough wins to get up into that conversation. But Jonathan Smith now head coach at Michigan State, so we'll see what the Beavers have going on next year. Cal also surprised me. 4-8 for me for the Golden Bears. They went 6-6. And it's a good thing they did, because them beating UCLA kept UCLA's win total under 8.5, which means I won money. So that was the only good thing about Cal going 6-6, because they beat UCLA in the last week of the season.
Ooh, I just saw something, just kind of relating it back to the Justin Madubuike signing. This reduces his 2024 cap hit to this year, so it helps him free agency wise this year.
Yeah,
that's probably a big thing for them. Anyway, back to the Pac-12.
Arizona was probably the most surprising team of anyone of any conference this year. 4-8 for me. The Wildcats shocked everyone. Even winning the Alamo Bowl against Oklahoma, 9-3 season for them. And now they're in transition. Brent Brennan comes over from San Jose State. And Jed Fish takes over in Seattle for the Huskies. But one thing Wildcats do have, Noah Fafita is coming back. As is, I don't know why I'm blanking on the guy's name, the wide receiver. Tetairoa McMillan as well. So those two are back in Arizona. committed to the Wildcats, headed to the Big 12. Arizona State, Sun Devils. I was close on them. I had them going 2-10. They went 3-9. I guess we'll talk about them and Stanford together because I had both going 2-10. They both went 3-9. Just really never saw anything with Arizona State or Stanford. Those two programs are pretty down in the depths right now. And yeah, there's not really much to say. I didn't expect a lot, and they didn't produce a lot.
Well, those were kind of two teams that you kind of saw it coming a mile away. You know, I think the most generous I saw anyone give them was legit like 3 wins.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, Stanford's going to be hard to turn around.
Oh, yeah.
But SEC. Go Dogs.
So,
I was right. I was right on Georgia.
You were.
Georgia. They went 12-0 in the regular season. They did not win the SEC championship, unfortunately. Another great season by Kirby. They should have been in the playoff. Just saying.
I don't disagree.
And they actually ended up. They did end up number 4, by the way, in the final AP poll. But yeah, I was happy that I was right about that. They had just a couple tough games, and they got through those tests and went on their way to Atlanta. Because it was really just, South Carolina early on was just a 10-point win. And they had a tough time on the road at Auburn, just 7-point win. But then they really figured it out most of the rest of the way. Missouri gave them a tough game, winning by 9. Everyone thought Tennessee was going to give them a test on the road. They blew them out of the water in Knoxville. And then, surprisingly, the last game of the regular season, Georgia Tech in Atlanta, that one was a tough one. They only won by 8, but got it done there. Alabama. I was right on Alabama as well. 11-1 in the regular season. And I think, pretty sure, I predicted their only loss would be the Texas Longhorns. So at least I know my conference. At least I know the SEC pretty well and how the teams are going to play at each other and whatnot. I say that, and then we'll talk about Missouri in a couple. But LSU, I had going 10-2. I was close on that one. They went 9-3 in the regular season, and third in the West, fifth overall. But yeah, I had them finishing close to the top there. Tennessee 10-2, not great. Tennessee ended up going 8-4. I thought Joe Milton was going to be a little bit better than what he put out on the field. Still a solid season, though, for the Vols, 17th in the final AP poll there. Arkansas, I don't know what happened there. They just completely
imploded.
Yeah, and I don't know. They completely wasted the final year of KJ Jefferson's college career, because up to that point, like, KJ Jefferson had been a really solid player, and Arkansas had been winning games for Sam Pittman's crew. But the offense just did not do much at all this season. They ended up 4-8, and I think that was a surprise to a lot of people. 8-4 for Lane Kiffin's crew. He outshined me. They ended up going 10-2 on the year. Really, really good year for Jackson Dart, Quinchon Judkins, the running back and crew. And a lot of people like Ole Miss coming into 2024 as well in the SEC and the 12-team playoff. A&M 7-5 for me, and that's exactly what they did. They went 7-5 with a head coach change in the middle of it, and yeah, I knew A&M was kind of going to be a middle of the pack team. They weren't really flashy. They didn't have a great quarterback situation, but got to a bowl game. Kentucky 7-5. I think, was I right on that one as well? Yes, I was.
Mm-hmm.
Wildcats kind of the similar to A&M. I think I said that whenever we did the SEC preview. Say like A&M, Kentucky, South Carolina. Those three teams are all like kind of the same thing. Middling quarterback play. The rest of the squad is pretty solid, and then they have like one or two stars. Devin Leary, I was kind of surprised, but kind of not at the same time. He's been decently inconsistent throughout his career at NC State and Kentucky. So happy about the Wildcats getting that one right.
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina 6-6, the Fighting Spencer Rattlers, just short of that, 5-7. I thought Coach Beamer was going to get to a bowl game, ended up not being able to do that this season. Auburn, the Tigers, 6-6. That's what they ended up at. They were another team that really didn't have a solid quarterback situation, but Tigers got a pretty good job done there, getting to a bowl game, even though they lost it. We talked about Zach Arnett, his team, the Mississippi State Bulldogs, 6-6 for me. Just like South Carolina, falling a game short of a bowl appearance, 5-7 for them. That one, they could have gone bowling, I believe. Of course, they're another team that doesn't have their 23 schedule up yet still. But I'm pretty sure they could have went bowling, but they lost the Egg Bowl, which is why they didn't get to Mississippi. Ole Miss shut them out of a bowl appearance because of that one. And then, like I said, the surprise of the conference was Missouri this year.
Oh, yeah.
I had them going 5-7. They end up going 10-2.
And winning a Sugar Bowl, too.
Yeah,
Cotton Bowl.
New Year's Six Bowl win. Excellent season. And they're going to be good next year again. Mm-hmm. Brady Cook returns. Luther Burden is back. Now they're going to lose Cody Schrader, who had an excellent season. Their defense should be pretty solid still. But yeah, they were the one I just did not see coming in the SEC. Vandy, I was high.
Too generous for them.
I was high on Vandy this year. 4-8. They went 2-10, 0-8 once again in SEC play. I don't think they've won an SEC game since like 2016, I think is the mark or whatever it is. But
hey, in your defense, they started 2-0.
Right. I was like, dude, this is the man.
We're going.
And then Coach Green came in. He said, "They are who we thought they were."
And we let them off the hook.
But yeah, the Commodores, tough year once again. 2-10. I know Professor Mizey is going to come on and talk about them sometime. We're going to love it. And then the one I got the most flack on social media about, everyone was saying, F you suck. Florida's not going 3-9, Well, they didn't do much better. They went 5-7, guys. They didn't get to a bowl game. The Gators still suck. Napier sucks. And, we'll see what I predict this year. But
Man,
I
they
can't
were
wait.
5-2 at one point.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait to get more flack for lowballing the Florida Gators again.
I mean, let's just look at how many points they gave up in their 5-game losing streak. 43, 39, 35, 31, 24 to a Jordan Travis-less Florida State team.
Yep.
Like, yikes, man. Where's that defense? Even in wins, they gave up 39, 38, and, oh, man. Talk about a team that has no defensive identity at all.
Well, look, they're not going to do much better this year. I'm telling you that, because they're another team that doesn't have their 23. They have the 24 schedule on ESPN's app right now. Look, they play Miami week 1. I don't really know. I haven't looked into what Miami's roster looks like without Tyler Van Dyke and whatever. They're going to beat Samford. Then they get A&M at home. They go to Mississippi State. They host UCF, which is not an easy task. But they got to go to Knoxville. This is where the schedule really turns on them. They go to Knoxville. They host Kentucky. They go to Jacksonville for the Florida-Georgia game. Then they go to Austin to play Texas.
Yikes.
They host LSU. They host Ole Miss. And then they got to go to Tallahassee to play Florida State. Okay. 2-10. No, they'll probably be somewhere around 3 to 5 wins again.
Yeah, I'll go 4-8. I'll make my prediction early. 4-8.
Yeah. But anyways, that is the show for today. Pretty long one considering how they have been, but it's free agency. We're gonna have a lot of deals to talk about the next couple shows. Let's see if we get one done in New Orleans or not.
Hey, we might be sharing a screen. Who knows?
Yeah. But the next show we will be doing, if we do one next Friday, it's going to be free agency edition. And we're going to start our draft preview process. We're going 2 picks at a time like we did last year. Bears, Commanders, draft preview. We'll do a 3-round mock for each of those teams on the show, as well as all your college football, NFL news. And on Monday, don't forget, Mock Draft Monday, episode 2 drops at noon Eastern, as well as our normal Monday show. We're going to talk about how wrong I was on the Sun Belt, because it ain't pretty. I can tell
Not
you
the
that.
Fun Belt. You know how you got everything wrong? You just weren't having enough fun.
Horrendously wrong on the Fun Belt.
you didn't have enough fun, and that's why you're wrong.
Yeah. All right. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and X, FAA_bets on X as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and TikTok at Football Addicts 9. Thank y'all for watching. We'll see y'all back on Monday.